kick off the recording. All right, today is Monday, March 11th, 2019, and this is the Kubernetes CSI implementation meeting. Let's jump straight into 114 items. So looks like the issue with reconstruction of CSI volumes has just merged a few minutes ago. So we'll continue to monitor this and watch if it fixes the flaky tests. Next is moving the CSI driver and node objects to beta. Shing, do you want to give an update on this change?
Okay, yeah. So I'm still there is some E2E test error that I am working on. I think you said I need to set that CSI driver lister in the kubelet, right? So I'm working on that right now, just running the test locally, and so I'm still working on that.
Okay, great, thanks.
So the test failure, I think it's because of that, right? So I think because the kubelet is not getting this information, is not getting this parameter set.
Yeah, so I think that would cause, I would expect that to cause the pod info test to fail.
Yeah, I see that they are waiting. The test is waiting for the CSI driver, and then it's just timed out. So I do see that. Just right now, still trying to figure out there's something missing. I'm playing with it. It's still,
Yeah.
So
I would expect that those tests to fail, but it looks like all the CSI tests are failing. So
because it looks like they are all waiting for the CSI driver. There was a wait in the init somewhere.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, I see somewhere it's just there was a wait. So it's a little weird that it's like causing everything to fail. So I think it's just it's waiting for this thing to get synced up, but it never happened. So
interesting. Okay. Yeah, I would expect basically instead of doing the wait in the CSI plugin init, I would move that to the actual higher level controllers. So like the volume manager and attach detach controller.
Not waiting in here. There's a wait in the E2E test. There is a wait in E2E test to see if CSI driver are populated or something. That one just timed out. It's in the it's under
so that
the E2E somewhere.
That probably means that something failed during the driver registration. Like we were unable to register the driver with kubelet. So that might be related to this where I think
this one, right? Yeah. So this is the one I'm trying to fix right now. Just adding that in and see what I'm missing. So I probably need to add some sync logic into that into the E2E. Maybe I need to add something there.
No, I don't think it's a E2E issue. I think it's a
in the CSI plugin, in this one, in the CSI plugin itself, you think?
Yeah, driver registration issue.
Okay, so I will. Yeah, I will take a look, and I think it's just not. It's something is not passed through still. So okay, I will take a look at that.
Okay, great. Feel free to ping me if you want to discuss some more on that.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Thanks. So the other thing that I'm trying to work on now is to update all the sidecars to use the new beta objects. And so I've already merged the cluster driver registrar changes. I'm working on the external provisioner changes. But before I can do that, I need to also update the snapshotter because snapshotter or the external provisioner has dependencies on the snapshotter. So that was something I wanted to discuss here because I think, Xing, you had some concerns about updating or removing the constraints on the snapshotter.
Yeah, I think it's pretty weird to to remove the constraints. I mean, you would still have some similar issues because there's the dependency is still there. We just need to update this one to point to the beta. Is a beta one or something?
Yeah,
The
so I think
guys, and then
the main thing with like external snapshotter, or the main thing in general, what I see is like with all the sidecars is we depend on some minimum version of Kubernetes. So I think the main thing with what this current constraint does is it sets a constraint on the maximum version of Kubernetes. So I think by removing it, then we can at least we can handle upgrading without having to always update the constraint every time.
I don't think it's constraint should be removed. If it's not precise, we probably just need to fix that particular constraint. But removing it altogether, I think it's wrong. It's pretty weird.
You can have a constraint that says larger than, and that then doesn't have a maximum version number associated with it. It's just if you put down version equals quotation mark some version, then it falls back to a certain operator that has this semantic of also implying an upper version.
Yeah, so I think the challenge here though is that the Kubernetes API, the Kubernetes API repository doesn't follow semantic versioning.
Yeah. Okay.
So
then
we end up having to constrain it to specific specific tags. So if you look here.
Yeah, okay. That's I know what you mean. That is with one open issue that these particular repositories currently don't have semantic versioning. Yeah, there's an open bug about that.
But this actually will go. This is the lower one. It's actually will go upper, go higher than this one.
It needs to. The dep tool needs to understand that the version has to be in this format x.y.z, but because this package doesn't use that naming, the dep tool can't automatically understand and parse that.
But when I run this one, I do see that it actually go up because at one point I actually have to restrict something to be exactly equal to something. Otherwise, it always go up.
Yeah. So it will always, by default, if you don't specify a constraint, it will always try to pick. It will always try to pick the latest official release.
No, I think if I just set it to like this, right, the version equal to, it still will go upper than this one. So like it could go to 1.13.1 or something.
I don't think
it happened to me, and then I actually have to add a equal sign next to Kubernetes dash 1.13.0. So completely ping it to that version. Otherwise, it goes.
But I guess my main question is like, why do we need to constrain it? Because it's okay to pull a higher version because the API is not going to change.
I think if you don't constrain it, I think it will take master.
I think if you don't constrain it, if there's no official tag, then it will take master, but otherwise it will take. So I think what it did here is it took the release 113 branch. Ended up taking the release 113 branch here.
I think you remove. I saw you remove it, right? What is this?
Yeah, but
Yeah, but then that means this always will be changing. I think we had this discussion about there was another update and another repo.
I guess
we shouldn't be doing a branch. We should use a version. That was.
Yeah, but I guess my question is it bad that it will upgrade when we want to upgrade it?
It actually, yeah, because it could break things because that was.
But that's why we have tests.
And that's why we don't update dependencies unless we know that we want to update. But there's a slight confusion here between locking onto a specific version via the log file and locking onto specific versions via the TOML file. The TOML file is basically your logical constraints. My code doesn't work unless it meets these constraints. And the other file is documenting which version is supposed to be used at the moment. And dep will stay to that second version unless you explicitly tell it to update.
Which is this file you're sharing? I couldn't.
Yeah, this is the lock file. So this
we should be looking at the top, the other one.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is, like, what is the downside to removing the constraint if it's not gonna like just randomly break something, because we still have to explicitly do a update in order to update packages.
It can act well if that particular package is API compatible. I guess it won't hurt too much. But in the past I've seen breakages that exactly came from mixing Kubernetes packages from different releases. So it's not actually you're basically assuming that the API will be compatible even if we go to master. And in my experience, that's not currently guaranteed by the Kubernetes API lib packages. They are only compatible within a certain release number and a release branch, but not necessarily across releases.
Okay, I think that makes sense. Then I guess in order to proceed with this, what I need to do is to add, instead of using, because the version I want is not tagged. So what I need to do is put a very specific commit here and sync up all of these to the specific commits.
Which version do you need right now?
It's a 1.14, but they haven't added a new tag in 1.14.
But it has been branched, so you could just use branch equals release 1.13. Yeah. Then we always get the latest 1.13, which is fine.
Yeah, but the branch is not well. That was actually one fix I did last time with another repo. I forgot it's a attach or a provisioner that was saying that we shouldn't be using the branch. We should be choosing a version, because that could get updated without us knowing. Right?
No, it will never get updated unless we actually ask the dep tool to update it.
Or somebody runs
somebody submit another patch, then they're going to run this, and then
no.
Well, when you run dep ensure update, that updates all the packages, but it is possible to specify specific packages to update. So if someone wants to add a new package, they could just update vendor to add the one package. They don't have to update all of the other packages.
Right, but the right thing to do is you do run that. The dep ensure should be running that. It shouldn't be just.
So if you just run dep ensure without any arguments, it does not update the packages to the latest.
It does. It
does not
make a change.
You have to run dep ensure -update, then it will update all the packages.
It might be a bit more complex if you add packages that have new dependencies. In some cases, that triggers an update for some. It may trigger an update to some packages, but usually, if you just add a new package, it doesn't. So it's somewhere between those two things that actually happens.
Okay, so to move forward with this, I think the best option we can do right now is to add the constraint to a release branch and get the latest releases. I still feel like for the most part we shouldn't even have to have constraints, because that means every single Kubernetes release we have to go and update this again, remove the constraints, and we're going to still have this dependency chain from external provisioner to external snapshotter.
Well, you just need to update them like about the same time, right? It's just to do this in lock steps. You have to do that with other dependency too, like the provisioner also depend on there's another the external.
Yeah, so the thing is the lib external storage repo does not set any constraints specifically so that we don't have to do this dependency chain issue every time.
Last time I checked, it still has it. I thought I checked it
at least
days ago.
I think at least the latest release, there are no constraints.
That's weird. Thought I just checked it.
Yeah, but anyway, I feel like the main thing is, like, at least with Kubernetes APIs, Kubernetes itself has a good deprecation policy on its APIs, so it should be technically safe.
But just sometimes just small changes will be different. Like last time, there's one small change in the data source API that I just need to get that one version. It's pretty tricky to get that one. Do you need to have some constraints there? Otherwise,
at least
just get the wrong version. Right?
Well, once from like alpha APIs could change a lot. So if you're depending on some alpha API, then maybe you need to set some constraints. But at least beta and GA APIs have to be pretty stable. But anyway, I will just change this to branch for now so that we can get around this.
Another thought around this is I know Andrew is working on the leader election. So talking about, it's kind of difficult to make all the dependency right. Do we really want to do that? And Rian actually brought it up about that. So basically we'll add in the dependencies. If we move this leader election to the util, and then everybody will be dependent on that. So that'll be
so I think we could do the same thing where we don't set any constraints on the libutil. Then when upper sidecars pull in the dependencies, they won't be bound by any constraints on the underlying repositories. All right, I'm going to try this out if there's no objections to setting the constraint to a release branch.
Yeah, I would feel more comfortable than completely getting rid of it.
Okay.
I think single version is better, but I think branch is better than not having any.
Okay. I think right now we don't have a tag that we can use, so I think we need to use the branch for now.
Just looking at the 6 storage lib external provisioner, it does still have Kubernetes dependencies.
It has that file is commented out. Like it's a dot.
It's like a dot.
Oh, okay. Oh.
I think when you do the unit test, they build it.
Oh, okay. Weird. Okay.
Yeah, I think the last tag was 11 days ago, which does not contain the API change we need. So, oh, sorry, Deep, you had a comment?
Yeah, I just want to point out one thing. So when I was trying to build the external provisioner, I pretty much ran into the conflicts exactly that Michelle ran into, because the provisioner depends on the snapshotter. But the thing is, for CSI migration, we need a thing from the API. It's basically, I think, a label that says what's the standard name for zone parameters, and that got staged into a specific file as part of the API staging. That's only there in 1.14 beta 1. So I was also running into issues when trying to get DepEnsure to work, because the external snapshotter had a dependency on 1.13, and that didn't have that change. So basically, once everything moves to 1.14, hopefully that'll also just work out.
Yeah.
Dependency.
So I think the problem now is that the latest 1.14 tag doesn't contain the CSI node and CSI driver API changes. So we need to, I'm not sure when they're going to tag it, but for us to move forward, I think we need to just use the release 1.14 branch then.
I have a quick question. So the external provisioner has a dependency on the snapshotter. Is that a good thing?
But that is because of the query volume from snapshot. It uses there's a data source that is actually that part that is in tree, and then when you create volume from snapshot, you do need to use.
Yeah, so I think we have
a dependency.
We have an issue open for this, because right now I think if external provisioner only needs the API, the CRDs for snapshots. So I opened up an issue for this. If we can move that API to a different repository, then I think we can break this dependency.
But you still have the dependency to the API, mainly.
So we have a dependency on the snapshot API, but now external provisioner is no longer bound by the external snapshotter Kubernetes constraints.
Yeah, as long as we had the definitions for the CRDs in an external place, they could both depend on that, and then you could run external provisioner without external snapshotter and expect the right thing to happen, as long as you had a way of creating snapshots.
Yeah, still thinking it's a bit weird just to break those two, because as Jean and I was discussing about this one, I initially thought it's a great idea, but then I thought it's kind of weird, because usually your CIDs controller together in the same repo, and separate them.
So I mean, this is how Kubernetes.
You're right, but but it is also in tree. You build this first. You test out with your controller first before you. Then you have that one separate, but it's still together. So we could do something similar to that, or it's fine.
Yeah, I'm trying to work with Nikita to see how we can get the publishing bot to also work on the snapshotter repo, so we can publish the CRDs separately.
Okay, yeah. I think it is fine as long as we don't remove that out of it and completely making them completely two different repos. So the Kubernetes API does, that's fine, because they are actually also in tree, and then you build them together, and then you test them together, and then you publish that separately. I think that would be fine, because it's actually always the same version, that API and the Kubernetes, the core Kubernetes and API, that always actually have the same version. They release actually together. So that would be fine, then completely making them like they're not related to each other.
So the problem is that the provisioner really does depend on the definitions of the snapshot CRDs.
It does.
So you have to test it in such a way that it doesn't break either thing, and having it in a third place is the best way to do that, because it's no longer just depended on by the snapshotter; it's depended on by provisioner and potentially other things. So it has to.
No, what I'm saying is we could do it the same way as the Kubernetes API do. Still put them but there's always a So usually when there is a change happens, usually the change happens in the snapshot part first, and then it affects the provisioner. The only time I see that it happened almost at the same time was because there was a CSS spec update. That was the only time that we would have to don't want to delay the provision, but usually the change comes in the snapshot first.
Yeah, but now that people are starting to use this thing, there shouldn't be changes anymore. Like any change should be backwards compatible.
Yeah. So
right?
like
I'm not saying
we'll
change,
need.
I'm just saying that we could. So I'm not against saying publish that in a different place like what we did with Kubernetes API, but I am against at completely removing that out of the external snapshot repo, because when we are running those we're generating those files, the informers and listers, you're doing those together, the controllers are always together, so separating them out would be pretty bizarre. So even if you think in the future you want to use the kube builder, I don't think you can do that if completely separating out anymore.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm gonna follow up with the release team to figure out how easy it is to get the publishing bot to also work on our snapshot repository. If they can't find the solution, then I think we might have to do some manual thing in the meantime. But I feel like this is like every release we are hitting this issue, and it's becoming a bit of a pain to be able to release stuff.
Well, yeah. So I think even if you just publish them in a different repo, you would still have those dependencies.
Well, that's why we have versions. Right? External provisioner can be tagged to a specific version of the snapshot API. And that way, even if you publish a new version of the API, it won't break the external provisioner.
Yeah, no, I think it's good. I think it's good to publish that separately. The only thing I'm against is to move them completely out. So that's
okay.
Clear.
Yeah. Sounds good. And then, okay, so moving on, the other things remaining are the doc updates. So I think the docs should be ready to review today. And I think the docs team is just, the docs team is going ahead and reviewing all the stuff. So nothing blocking there. Okay. Let's move on to inline volumes.
Yeah, so I created an issue to follow up with the suggestions that Dave had on the merge PR. So that's what I'm working on now. And then I heard you just mention the documentation. So is the internal documentation of that, is that due today?
No, the Kubernetes.io documentation.
Right. That's what I meant. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's due today.
All right, I'll take a look at, because I have some stuff in the whip, so I'll make sure I update that PR and take out the work in progress tag. So
all right.
So it'll be updated. Yep.
Excellent. And how is the testing going on this? Have we been able to test this out with a mock driver or something?
Yeah, so that's another thing I'm working on. I didn't get a chance to do it Friday, but the only driver that I have is from Kevin. So that's what I'm using to test it. So I'll report findings on that. So I'll move that as far as a priority and get that done today. With the and then I can work on the other stuff later.
Oh, the docs should be done today. So that should
I'm
be the
sorry.
highest priority.
Yeah, the docs testing, and then the stuff that David had mentioned will be the least priority.
Yep. All right, that sounds good. Thanks for the update.
Sure.
Next up is resizing.
Sorry, just trying to find the unmute button. So I'm working on following some of the follow-up comments on the PR, and the document PR is up, but I'll update it a little bit. Guess there's nothing much to document other than like, yeah, we need to document the feature gate and stuff. So I'll work on that too.
Awesome, thank you. Next up is migration.
Yeah, so mainly on the provisioning side, I was kind of struggling with the dependency I described earlier. So once you've got a chance, Michelle, to kind of get the external provisioner up, I'll rebase against that, and hopefully everything will work out.
All right.
Besides that, we are just working on.
Hello?
Yeah, I was just saying, besides that, we are mainly working on docs.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Awesome, thanks for the update. Next up is Roblox.
Yeah, Roblox is getting some weird feedback. It hurts my ears. All right. Everything's done except for the docs PR. It has an approve tag, but not or an approved label, but not an LGTM. It's really just the 2 lines for the doc change.
Okay.
I don't know.
I'll be sure to take a look at this then.
Yeah, and I believe that's. I mean, I've looked around for other docs that we could update in there, and I didn't really find any. So I think this is going to be it.
Okay.
And then we'll have the actual CSI docs where we'll go into more detail about this subject.
All right. Sounds good.
Action item.
Thank you. Next up is scaling the external provisioner.
Most things are done. I just need to do rebase of the external provisioner, and that could be it.
Okay, cool. Thank you. And next up is CI. Patrick, are you there?
Yeah, I made some progress. Yeah, I'm still here. So you've seen the pull request, but adds more of the job types to the Brow config. That's my next step to actually try out things that I've been testing locally also in Brow. So it adds a periodic job, which tests against the latest Kubernetes master, and a second job configuration for pull requests so that future changes to our components get tested with a stable Kubernetes version and, again, latest master of Kubernetes at the same time before merging a pull request. You had some questions on that. I think I answered, so you might have another look on the pull request.
Okay, great.
It was all working fine in my local testing, so I'm relatively optimistic that it also will work in Pro. The thing that I'm still waiting for is publishing of images. That part is still open in Kubernetes.
Okay.
Or in.
Cool. Thanks for keeping up with all this. All right. Next up is the consistent sidecars.
Yeah, so I'm just blocked on 2 PRs. I think they both have merge conflicts, but I wanted to get a thumbs up on the PR before I go ahead and resolve those. I think for the leader election one, I was just waiting for the 1.14 beta release, which I think is out now. So I'll update that to use beta release. And then for the external snapshotter, yeah, I still need someone to just look at it and make sure it's good to go before I start fixing it.
Okay. I'll maybe ping Jing to see if she has some time to take a look at this.
Yep, sounds good.
Yeah.
There's a few other sidecars that need to be updated to use the RPC package. So Jeremy Morris is going to be working on that this week.
Okay, awesome. Thanks for the update.
So for the snapshot one, do you need there was another PR, do you need that one to be merged first, or it doesn't matter? There was a PR on the K log thing. I think Jan have a comment there saying that one needs to be merged first.
Yeah, there's no rush from me. So like, if there's another PR that you want to merge first, go for it.
And there was I think Jan has a comment there saying that otherwise that part won't work or something. I have pinned. I think it's Humble. He said he's going to work on that. He just need to rebase his PR. Then that'd be good.
Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
this one. Right.
All right. Yeah, these are not in any huge hurry to get in, so I think that's fine. All right.
Okay.
Thanks for the update. I think we don't have anybody here to give an update on drivers. All right. Other than that, I think that's all we're tracking for 114. Is there any other topics anyone wants to bring up? All right. Then we will end the meeting then. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.